The 1999 Ryder Cup was unlike anything else we had seen before. Americans defied all odds and rewrote the history books. The atmosphere was filled with raw emotion and high stakes, making every moment unforgettable. Yet what followed afterward left a stain on what should have been remembered as a historic victory. Ryder Cup is a place of intense emotions, fierce rivalries, and unforgettable drama. The 1999 Ryder Cup saw an incredible comeback, followed by a massive scandal. Today, we will discover what turned this iconic tournament into a controversy that shocked golf fans everywhere. Ryder Cup has been the most prestigious tournament in the history of golf. Thousands of people line up to watch the fierce rivalry between European and United States teams. It began in 1927 as a friendly competition between Great Britain and the United States. The competition quickly rose to fame. It was named after Samuel Ryder, an English businessman and golf enthusiast who donated the trophy of the cup. The first Ryder Cup occurred in the United States in 1927 at Worcester Country Club in Worcester, Massachusetts. It was a biennial tournament which happened once every 2 years. Ryder Cup was dominated by the United States, with Great Britain getting only a few wins. The tournament was held every odd year, but was stopped for some years due to the Second World War. When it resumed, the United States again dominated by winning 5 consecutive cups. The tournament started to get boring because of repeated wins of the Americans, which led to the decision to extend the British team to all golfers from Europe. This leveled the playing field, and Europe also started to win. It developed a much bigger rivalry between the teams. By the 1990s, the Ryder Cup had become more than just a tournament, filled with emotions and thrilling competitions. This fierce competition led to an incident in the 1999 Ryder Cup, which has become one of the most hated events to occur in golf. But what caused one of golf's biggest tournaments to become so controversial? Today, we will find out what happened in the 1999 Ryder Cup. We will also upload more golf stories in our coming videos. Subscribe to ensure you don't miss out on those. And let's start with the 1999 Ryder Cup. The 1999 Ryder Cup was scheduled to be played on the American soil, but Americans hadn't won the tournament since 1993. Europeans dominated the U.S. in the last 2 editions of the tournament, so the stakes were high this time. Instead, the U.S. team entered with such confidence that their captain said about the Europeans in the lead-up to the tournament, "On paper, they should be caddying for us." Jeff Maggart's teammate doubled down on it, saying, "Let's face it, we've got the 12 best players in the world." Americans were confident that they would win the cup this time, but was too much confidence a good thing? The 1999 Ryder Cup was held at Brookline, Massachusetts. It was one of the oldest golf courses, making it a perfect venue for the historic battle that was about to take place. The format was slightly changed from the regular Ryder Cups. On day 1, 4 4-ball matches were played in the morning session, while 4 foursome matches would be played in the afternoon session. On the second day, the order is reversed and 4 foursome matches take place in the morning, while afternoon sessions are reserved for the 4 4-ball matches. On the last day, 12 singles matches are played. With a total of 28 points, any playing team must get 14.5 points to claim the title. Both teams were stacked with players, with the U.S. team having the likes of Tiger Woods, Phil Mickelson, and Payne Stewart. At the same time, the European team also had world-class golfers such as Colin Montgomery, Jose Maria Olazabal, and Sergio Garcia, but was only having world-class players enough for Americans or Europeans? On the 24th of September 1999, the 33rd Ryder Cup kicked off when Paul Lawrie hit his opening tee shot. The Americans had a fantastic start when Tom Lehman chipped in at the first hole, but it didn't last long, and momentum quickly turned in favor of the European team. The Americans only won 1 of the 4 4-ball matches, and 1 was drawn. At the end of the morning session, the total score was 2.5 points for the European team and 1.5 points for the Americans. In the afternoon sessions, Tiger Woods was paired with David Duval. Both were in the top 2 in golf rankings. They were expected to win, but that didn't happen. Woods missed a short eagle putt on the 14th hole, while his opponent hit an amazing chip shot and stole the victory. The European team again dominated the session. Phil Mickelson was playing the match with Jim Furyk, and even that pair lost. The result of the session was disappointing, with Europeans getting only 3.5 points and Americans only getting half a point. At the end of day 1, the Americans only won 2 points, while the Europeans managed to steal 6 points and were at a 4-point lead. Things were not looking good for Americans. Their overconfidence worked against them. The second day began with foursomes matches being played in the morning session. Somehow, Americans managed to come back in the form. Tiger Woods was paired with Steve Pate. Woods managed to eagle the 14th, while his teammate hit a shot from the rough at the 18th hole to within 15 feet. Tiger Woods finally won his first match in the tournament. Jeff Maggart and Hal Sutton helped the U.S. win one more foursome game, while the Europeans also managed to draw the session by winning 2 matches. Americans still needed more points, while Europeans kept their 4-point lead. U.S. captain Ben Crenshaw needed to win more games to make up for the points. So Crenshaw decided to change the pairings for the afternoon 4-ball session. This pairing somehow worked in his favor, as Europeans couldn't extend their lead, while Americans couldn't decrease their deficit. Tiger Woods was paired with Steve Pate, but Woods missed many key putts and lost for the 3rd time in just 2 days. Phil Mickelson found his form, and with Tom Lehman, he managed to secure a point for the afternoon session. The remaining 2 matches of the session were halved, taking the total score after 2 days to 10 points for Europeans and 6 points for Americans. Being only 4.5 points behind the winning margin, Europeans could sense another victory. Meanwhile, Americans would have to face another loss at Europeans' hands. To turn things around, the U.S. team needed to close the gap and score 8.5 points to claim victory, a feat that had never been accomplished before. No other team had recovered from more than 2 points deficit on the final day of the match. Americans needed a miracle. On the night before the final day of the match, U.S. captain Ben Crenshaw said, "I'm a big believer in fate. I have a good feeling about this." Americans needed hope and support from their fans to turn the tides in their favor. On the final day, both captains rearranged their lineups. European captain Mark James put most of his strength at the back of his lineup, while Ben Crenshaw went with a strong starting lineup, thinking that a good start would help them recover from a 4-point deficit. This caused many bad pairings for Team Europe. 3 of the rookie players who were playing their first Ryder Cup matches got paired up with much more experienced players from the U.S., Phil Mickelson, Davis Love, and Tiger Woods. Tom Lehman and Lee Westwood, who played the lead match that day, halved their first 3 holes. But Europeans quickly picked up the pace where they had left off. The matches were close when they started, but eventually Davis Love chipped in at the 5th for a birdie, giving Team USA some hope. Phil Mickelson was paired against Jarmo Sandelin, with whom he had a previous history at the 1996 Alfred Dunhill Cup. Sandelin missed a short putt for birdie, and there were huge roars from the crowd. He never looked comfortable and eventually lost to Mickelson. Team US won the first 6 matches of the day, taking the total score from 4 points deficit to a lead of 12-10. Americans were leading the points for the first time in the tournament. Meanwhile, the Europeans got their first win when Padraig Harrington defeated Mark O'Meara after O'Meara failed to escape a bunker at the final hole. Steve Pate won his match by defeating Angel Jimenez, which took the points tally to 13-11. The Americans still needed 1.5 points to win, but Paul Lawrie defeated Jeff Maggart of the USA to close the gap for the Europeans. However, Sergio Garcia lost to Jim Furyk of the USA by 4-3. Now, the points tally had reached 14-12 for Americans. They needed only half a point to win with 2 matches left. In the remaining matches, Payne Stewart was paired against Colin Montgomery, and Justin Leonard was paired against Spaniard Jose Maria Olazabal. Montgomery and Stewart went back and forth for much of the front 9. On the 12th hole, Montgomery won and moved 2 up, but Stewart won the 14th. On the next hole, Montgomery missed from 15 feet, but Stewart holed from 35 feet to level the match with 3 holes left to play. Meanwhile, the other match appeared to be a blowout for the Americans. Olazabal was leading Leonard 4 up with just 7 holes left to play. But in a crazy turn of events, the Spaniard played the next 3 holes in 5-6-5 and lost all 3. Now he had only a 1-up lead. On the 15th hole, Leonard sunk a 40-foot putt to square the match. With 3 holes left to play, anyone could win the game. On the 17th, Leonard faced a 40-footer for birdie, while Olazabal was only 25 feet away. The atmosphere was tense. Everyone had their eyes on Leonard. No one expected what was about to happen. But when Leonard swung his club and took the shot, he holed the birdie. This shot made Americans go crazy. His fellow golfers, their wives, and cameramen stormed the green to hug Leonard. This led to a very crowded situation in which Olazabal's line was breached. But when order was restored and Olazabal tried to hole his 25-foot putt, he missed it. This gave Leonard a 1-up lead with 1 hole to play. Olazabal birdied the 18th hole, tying the match. Americans got their half point and won the Ryder Cup. They had done the unthinkable. But what they did during the matches and after winning was a disgrace to sportsmanship. The behavior of the U.S. team and U.S. spectators drew heavy criticism throughout the tournament. Spectators and players storming the field when Olazabal was about to take his shot felt very disrespectful to the Europeans. Things got so bad in the heat of rivalry that Colin Montgomery's father walked off the course. He was there to support his son, but he couldn't bear the abuse his son was getting from the spectators. If you thought that was too much, Americans crossed their limits. Mark James, who was the captain of the European team, said that things had gotten so bad that one of the kids spat at his wife. The Americans lost all of their decency and sportsmanship. Americans were also accused of cheating during the game. Andrew Coulthard's caddy blamed a course marshal for hiding the lost ball until 5 minutes passed, causing Coulthard to get a one-stroke penalty. European vice-captain Sam Torrance launched a verbal attack on Tom Lehman, saying he led the invasion of the 17th green when Leonard holed his putt. Torrance told British newspapers that the United States should be ashamed of this. The Europeans were furious at this behavior of the Americans. Newspapers criticized the event. Fans were mad, and the fallout was crazy. One of the commentators wrote, "Perhaps the Europeans' real victory here, unlike their hosts, was to treat this as a golf tournament and not like a substitute for war." The Ryder Cup was a gentleman's tournament, but became a place for sportsmanship and crowd behavior debates. It was full of controversial events. Some call it one of the most unforgettable tournaments, while others see it as a poor display of sportsmanship. I hope you liked our story about the Ryder Cup. Subscribe. We will upload more videos like this in the coming weeks. Was this Ryder Cup a story of a remarkable comeback or a moment of disgrace? Let me know what you think about it in the comments down below.